Well, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate you guys spending some time with me this afternoon on a Tuesday. And, it's December. Of course, it's December and everybody's getting rid of the holidays. But I always try to turn my thoughts this time of year on to the upcoming year and get prepped up for the strategic planning process and what we need to do to get our business really moving way ahead for the upcoming year. And it's all about planning, but there's some things that I'd like you to be aware of, and I'm going to go through that. I'm going to share my screen here very quickly, and I hope everybody can see that. Janet, are we good?
Yes.
Okay. So before we do any strategic planning, there's a few steps we need to take, and that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about your business year in review, your first step before you begin your strategic planning process. Just a little bit about us and our mission. There's a QR code there. We're the Small Business Development Center here in Louisville. We're part of a statewide network. There's 13 centers across the state. Quite a few of us out there, and it's a national program. You can access an SBDC any state in the union. We do a lot of work in person, but we also do much more on Zoom. And if you'd like to connect with one of our coaches here in Louisville, if you just take your phone, see that QR code there, just kind of scan over that. And our Coach Connect page will pop up there. You can see the coaches, you can check their skill sets. You can actually see our calendars and schedule some time with us right then and there. You don't have to talk to anybody. My son hates talking to people. He won't order a pizza if he has to talk to somebody. He has to do it online. So maybe you're like that. So here's your chance. Just hover over that. I'll give you just a second more. I can capture that in case you want to talk with one of us about your upcoming strategic plan or any other problems. And again, everything we do is free. We're a free service provided by a lot of fine organizations. And so we're always happy if we can help you. So today, what we'll talk about is a little bit about strategic planning and why the planning process is the last thing you do as part of the process. And we'll look at this idea of an annual review, why it's important, and some of the components of that. And then we'll just go through the process itself and use some techniques that I like to use that you can take away as well. So why is a strategic plan so important? Well, an hour of planning usually saves about 15 to 24 hours of heartache, and it allows companies just to look ahead and think about being proactive rather than reactive, and kind of gives the company a sense of direction. It can help you crystallize a vision in your mind, and as you as a business leader, that's part of the biggest thing that you should be doing is broadcasting your vision and the vision for the company to your team, your customers, your vendors, so everybody knows where your company is going. It also has a lot of bolt-on positive effects. It will helps with operational efficiency. You aren't floundering around looking for solutions that you don't really need. It can help increase your profitability, and most importantly, a business with a plan is a more durable business, often way more long lasting. So the last step is the strategy part, and part of what we would do once we look at our strategy process is the first step is actually understanding some internal factors of your business. So, understanding your vision and mission, rethinking through that with yourself and your team, understanding external drivers of your business, of how's the world interact with you. Something we're going to talk a lot about today is internal business review, and then just the quick strategic plan formulation towards the end here. So that's what we're going to run through today. So step by step, step one, understand your key external drivers. And what we want to do is take a look out, see what's coming down the road from a big standpoint. And this, you don't have to do a lot of research. It doesn't have to be super validated, but you need to understand the world you're in. You have to gather data on economic factors, understand what is going on out there. And, oftentimes the stuff that you read and can access may not be true, but it's best to be a little bit prepared for that. You know, we want to gather data on competition, what's going on demographically, data on other relationships with the competition, or just vendor things, and data on market metrics. And these things can help you inform your planning process as you go forward. So if you got that QR code, and at the end I'll share my email with you, but if you hit me up and just ask, I'll send you this little checklist that we have that you can run down to help you gather the information that you'll need to work with. So this I call the roadmap, the strategic planning roadmap. What are the external, internal things that I need to have in place before I start planning? What do I have to have on hand to share with my team and myself to understand what's going on before we plan for the future? And so, a lot of it's just easy things, but some of it's not. So use this to help guide you through this process. And again, if you hit me up, I'll send you this. Now, when we gather these things, I just use an Excel spreadsheet or a Word document with a table in it. Just write my thoughts on it. So here's the table that I put together for economic factors, and you can see some of the factors that I would look at in just a general way. So what are business confidence levels? And again, this is readily available data with just a quick Google search. But what are other business owners saying to the government and other media outlets on what they see coming down the road? To get that feeling. And then I would want to write notes where I say, on my change or trend box about what I've learned, just have it there. And then I would want to rank these factors, whether it's a neutral thing, it won't hurt me or help me or hurt me, could be an opportunity, or will it be a threat? And these factors are not set in stone. These are the ones that I'm just happen to be using here. So you might want to add other external factors, economic factors that are more pertinent to your business. And then the next checklist would be social, demographic, regulatory, and governmental factors. What are things that I'm seeing coming down the road that may affect me? Changes in laws, perhaps, or air pollution. I was just reading this morning about the large truck manufacturers and how they will be affected by new laws in California about zero emission semi trucks, where they're trying to phase out diesel, and how that will negatively affect, in a way, possibly some of the large truck manufacturers in California. So, again, these factors, may or not, that may not have an effect on you, but it could. But these are things that, you just want to list these things out and then make some analysis, just write some notes on them, and then talk about opportunity, threat, or neutral. And, when you go through that checklist, we're looking at the broad external factors that may affect our business. One of my friends who is a CEO of a large hotel chain, I had to hand it to them. They, a couple of years ago when the pandemic was just hitting the news, I personally was kind of dismissing anything. I, just thought that would help, stay overseas and it wouldn't affect the United States. He took it very seriously and mobilized his team to prep his business just in case something would happen. And he was very prepared when things went south, when the pandemic hit and everything shut down and travel was zero. He was well prepared, and they actually are thriving now. So just being proactive, whether you need those proactive factors or not, is a great exercise, and gives a lot of resilience to your business. So let's take a look at the business review process itself. And there's 8 factors that I like to look at. And so let's go through each one. And this is where we've looked on the outside now, and now we want to look in and look at our business and see how resilient it is. What are some risk factors that we might want to mitigate and try to take care of to strengthen our business? So the first thing that I really stress that you should look at is this idea of contingency and business continuity planning, because it starts at the bottom. The business itself has to have several plans. You'll have a strategic plan / business plan. You have a marketing plan or operations plan, but a contingency plan is something that most businesses overlook, and it's so important for a small business. So what is in this, and what a contingency plan is when things affect the business, what are those risks that we need to mitigate if there's some sort of disaster, and maybe not so much a natural disaster. There's other things in a business that need to be mitigated. So the first step in that is to define who the team is, who if something was bad to happen, who is responsible, who would everybody rally around. So generally it's the business owner, but maybe it could be different folks. So, let's just say that your business was hit by a tornado or maybe another pandemic or whatever. These are the people that everybody knows that when things are kind of crazy, these are the ones that are tasked, and everyone knows that they have the responsibility to lead through the issues that are at hand. The next step is to identify key risks, and what are those risks? Now, there's a bunch of them. Could be cybersecurity. It could be natural disasters. Could be, whatever you come up with. Just make a long list of those things, and then identify triggers. So, if you don't have power for days on end, that would be a trigger. Or if for whatever reason supply chain issues cause problems where you don't get material and you can't operate, that would be a trigger. So identify these triggers so that everyone knows that when this happens, when this negative thing happens, then we will do these things. And then the fourth step is to secure key data. And this is something that and I'm guilty of this as well, but small business owners don't think about how valuable their key data is. These are things like customer lists, all that type of information that you use on a daily basis. Maybe you keep it in your head. How many bank accounts do we have, and where are they, and who has access to them? Who has passwords? I'll share this story again. I had one of my businesses. I had a bookkeeper that I made her mad one day, and she walked off the job. And then after she was gone, I realized that she was the one that had the password to the QuickBooks. So that was quite the education at that day, that we need to secure key data. So that you have all this information. Everyone, you should have your emergency team. They'll have access to this, so they can know where to go and where to get that information. And then who to inform when things like this happen. Sometimes you have banking covenants, and the bank might need to be informed, if one of their collateralized assets were destroyed or things of that nature. So the team might want to immediately call the insurance person. Here's the guy's information, and here's where to contact him, his phone number and his email. Here's a digital copy of the policy and what it entails. Here's our attorney, and here's where to contact him. And then a timeline. So when things are in trouble, what happens first. The first thing on my timeline is make sure everybody's safe. We want to make sure that the team is safe and secure. Nobody's in any type of harm, and if so, these are the things that we're going to do to mitigate that. So that's that part of this, and I will say there's a lot of information out there about maintaining this contingency planning idea. So look into that a little bit. The next thing to look at is risk concentration, and again, if you hit me up, I'll send you a de-risking book. This is a whole new discipline now about mitigating risk in a business. And if you'd like that, send me an email or go to that QR code, go to Coach Connect and send me a note on that. But let's look at risk concentration, and it's so obvious, but one type of risk is customer concentration. And I will say that, I've done a lot of M&A deals and been on both the seller and the buyer side. And one of the things a buyer will look at is this idea of customer concentration. And as a business owner, you should look at this as well. And what that means is that if more than 30% of your total revenues, annual revenues for the year, are generated by one customer, there's a risk there, because if that customer ever leaves, your business may go out of business. And there are some businesses that they service one customer. I mean, I know over around Ford and GE, there's a whole bunch of businesses they service the Ford plants exclusively. They're concentrated entirely on that. So that is a business strategy, but they've also done the best they can to mitigate that risk with contracts and other things in place. So, so if you have a high concentration risk of your customer, then try to diversify your customer base a little bit, or protect yourself with contracts. So if you're selling your business, a buyer would look at this and they would discount the price that they would be willing to pay you, because this is a big risk to an acquiring person. So think about that. Next, there's a risk in the business owner. Most small business owners, again, I'll admit this, that you keep a lot of information in your head, and what would happen if suddenly you were in an accident and you were killed. How would your business go forward? That's a scenario we hear a lot about, but what's more likely to happen is that you may be incapacitated for a long period of time due to illness or something like that. And can your business survive while supporting you but you not working? So if you are the key person in the business, you do everything, you have all the customer relationships, can you, what would happen if you didn't show up every day? Can that business survive? So I encourage you to take what I call the vacation test. And if you can go on a 3-week vacation and never talk to anybody in your business, and when you come back, everything's fine, then you have low risk concentration for business owners. So that's something to think about. But a business that is run exclusively by the business owner is a risk that, again, if you're selling your business, an acquirer will discount it because you are the business and you have all the relationships. And if you're not there, the business may not exist. And so that's nothing for an acquirer to buy. Also, there's the same idea with key employees. So if you have let's say a salesperson that knows all the customers and he generates most of the sales, that's a risk. If he would ever leave your business, would your business survive? Could you maintain your customer relationships where they wouldn't follow him to his next gig somewhere? So that's something to think about there. The next is a leadership review. I think it's important to review the leaders on your team, the managers or department heads or whatever you have, to make sure that they're in the right place, that they're a good culture fit, and that they understand where the company's going vision-wise. It's amazing to me how how the attitudes and the culture fit of a manager is more important than their actual skill set and what they're doing. Another thing to look at from a risk standpoint is your supply chain and logistics. And this is another risk, almost like the customer concentration risk, where let's say you get most of your product or services from a single vendor. And what would happen if you lost that vendor for whatever reason, or something happened to them and they were unable to supply you? That would really severely affect your business. So this is the time to look for alternative sources. We've heard so much about supply chain disruptions, and a lot of companies are looking at this really hard about how to do substitutes and find other sources for what they need to keep their business going. And you should do that as well. The next risk that we want to review is human resources. And this is so important to have all the boxes checked when it comes to human resources. So look for, culture fit again, and all your employees. It's hard to find folks these days to work, and often you're willing to put up with a lot, but again, culture fit is so important. You need to make sure that you have all the required documents in place in a secure location. So you'll need I-9 forms and all the documents that would go into an employee file. Make sure your posters are up to date. It's also important, if you don't have this, to work on a job descriptions and employee handbook, so everybody understands what they're really supposed to be doing, how your business is put together. There's a lot of great HR consultants here in Louisville and everywhere really. A lot of them will do a free review for you like this, and they can help you with the employee handbook and job descriptions. It's well worth the time and maybe expense to get these things done if you have a team that you're working with and managing. So take a peek at that. And then this is a great time of year to look at, we call physical plant, your actual hard assets in your business. So if you own a building, or even if you rent one, it's important to go through that, look and with a critical eye, and see, what upgrades could be done, or the projects that need to be done on the business. Same with any equipment you have. So let's say you have some manufacturing equipment, or maybe it's restaurant equipment, but make a list of all the things that are needed to be upgraded or repaired. And what you want to do is put together a capital budget. And so the capital budget would list all these things with the cost. That doesn't mean that you have to do all of them in 1 year. Maybe you can't afford that, but it's important to identify them, all of them, and then prioritize them. What's the most important thing for me to do? And then you can start working on your budgets, part of your strategic plan, to work through some of those things that you can mitigate. Again, if you have some of these assets and you plan on selling your business in the future, again, an acquirer will discount for unmaintained equipment and property. So make sure that you, as part of your plan, is keep everything up to date. You also want to look at your debt. Things have kind of flip-flopped on the debt these days, but looking through your debt and making some decisions on that. So some people have, taken advantage of some online lenders, for example. They have some little bit of rough credit terms sometimes, but the thing that can be onerous is that the repayment period is short, which means the payments are high. So maybe you could look at a more traditional lender and refinance that to an extended term that would drop those payments down. That would be a great risk mitigator. Or you could work through a snowball calculation where you work to pay down some debt with free cash flow. But that would be part of your strategic plan. But analyzing your debt, who do you owe? What are those terms? It's also part of, like if something were to happen where you needed some breathing room and you might have to ask for some credit relief, you would know who to call, have that list listed out, who to call, how to contact them, that type of thing, all there at your fingertips. You also want to do a financial review, and financial review, you want to look back 3 years and do what we call a side-by-side trend analysis. So when you put your financials side by side in line, you can see whether things are trending up or good or bad or whatever. But that allows you to ask questions. You'll be able to see these trends. You want to know more. Then you try to figure out ways and find strategies to either improve, the performance of that particular expense or revenue category. You'd also want to review your financial and cash controls. Try to understand, where there are opportunities for cash leakage in your company. I think the percentage I saw estimated from the SBA was sometimes 5 to 10% in certain industries, can be lost through leakage, through bad cash controls or controls on inventory or ordering and things of that nature. And then we talked a little bit about the capital expenditures. This is where you would use your trend to analyze whether, and you could, and as part of your prioritization process to put together your capital budget and what you'll spend in the year. What's the most important thing that you can do to upgrade your property, your equipment? And two other things that I think would be important if you don't do these two things, maybe you could put this as a goal for this year in 2023, and that is put together a dashboard. We haven't done one yet, but I need to do some stuff for dashboarding because it's such a great tool, and it really helps a business go forward. But a dashboard is, pulling key financial information or just any type of activity information and putting it on in one place on just like a scorecard or a dashboard where you track trends on that and track it at a certain period of time during the month or the year. So I like to do it weekly, which is a lot of work, but it's well worth it for me. Other companies like to do monthly, but it allows you to make quick course corrections based on your strategic plan, because you're always seeing how you're trending based on what your dashboard says, how you're trending with your strategic plan going forward. And then if you haven't done this, this is a great Dave Ramsey tip, and it works for business too, is to put together an emergency fund. The businesses that survived well through the pandemic were the ones that actually had cash on hand. And, if you're one of those businesses that, are running really lean and think that, it's hard to build up a cash reserve because of the, different obligations and stuff. I mean, just start with $50 a week or whatever, just start and put together an emergency fund in a separate account away from your operating account. Just have it automatically transferred once a week. So we'd like to talk about those things. I really enjoy that stuff. Get on my calendar. We'll talk all day. And then as the next step as part of this review is looking through your legal, insurance, and intellectual property documents. So are all your leases up to date? Are all your contracts with customers or vendors up to date and in force? I'll tell myself again, I had a lease and I figured it was a 3-year lease and it was year 5 and the lease had gone to month to month. I had forgotten to really pay attention to that till I realized that that the landlord could have come in and given me 30 days notice to move the business. That's what the lease said, because I didn't have a lease in place. It went to month to month. So if that's something that's important to you, you want to look into that and make sure that's in place. Also, insurance. This is a great time of year to review your business insurance, especially to make sure that all your assets are insured, or maybe you had some vehicles that you got rid of and you forgot to tell the insurance company that you no longer own those vehicles. So you were just paying premiums for things that you didn't even have. So this is very important to do. Everyone's busy, and taking time to look at these things should be a priority, but it's hard to do until you make it a point to go through this review. If you have any copyrights or patents, things like that, make sure that they're not expiring and everything's up to date in that respect. I just did all that. And then year-end tech and cybersecurity, make sure that all your subscriptions to antivirus and malware programs are up to date. I recommend highly that you find someone that is an expert in this to secure your computer systems and your banking relationships, because we see so much in the news these days about cyber criminals, hacking into big corporations, but actually the bigger corporations have gotten better at securing their data and their systems. So these same criminals have turned to smaller businesses, businesses with sales even under $1 million. And that's where these small businesses are vulnerable. And you may think, well, I'm so small, no one's going to look at me. But yes, they are looking at you. So make sure that you protect yourself. Well, dang on it. So what I like to do is go through these different steps, and I score myself to see where I am. And I can send you this little spreadsheet as well if you'd like it. But I use what's called common sense scoring, and that is where you use even numbers instead of odd numbers, because when we do like a 1 through 10 or 1 through 5 scoring, there's always a middle one that says, neutral, neither good or bad. And most people will think, they don't put a stake in the ground. They'll just say, it's good or bad, I'll just put neutral. But so if you go 1, 2, 3, it's high risk, no mitigation, just the flavor of that. And if you go 4, 5, 6 underscore, you're saying low risk, high mitigation, but the different degrees of that. And so what does that look like when we put that together? So here's what I did on myself. So customer concentration, I gave myself a 2, vendor 4. So you can see that, for the most part, I've got some things in line. So my score was 31. So how do I know that's okay? I take these numbers and I plot them on a radar graph like this. And the idea is to cover the entire graph. So what does that say? What does this all mean? How well am I doing? So if you think what you want to do is to have all 6s. So I can put all 6s here, and that score is 60 out of these. And I can divide 31 by 60. That means right around 50% mitigated. So that tells me I have decent work to do. And also when I look at this radar graph, it shows where my priority should be. My priority should be, getting that emergency fund in place, because that's where it's less covered. And same with customer concentration. I have, a couple big customers that I need to do something about. So that is, those will be my priorities for the upcoming year. So what we just did is I gave us a good foundation for our strategy. Our business, if we can work through and mitigate all this risk, will be a much stronger business. It'll be a lot easier to manage, and just as a side effect, often, we'll become more profitable because we become more efficient. And these all will help put together our action plans and our goals as we move forward. So that is about it. So with that, there is our QR code again. If you wouldn't mind, if you'd like to, you can just hover over that with your camera again, and get on Coach Connect there and connect with one of us. And with that, we'll open up to questions on chat. If anybody has any questions, be happy to talk to anybody about that. Put it in the chat or the Q&A panel there. So do we have any questions there, Janet?
No, not seeing anything myself.
Okay. All right. Well, so again, if you'd like some of this information and documents and things, okay, here's some questions. There's Kathy. She says, Dave, you said the research phase was easy. Where do you go for that research? Well, the best place to go is just Google and start Googling around. That'll lead you to a ton of databases and articles and news articles and things that you can start to gather and get a sense, get some flavor for what's going on out there. you can call the Louisville Free Public Library. And for those of you folks joining from around the country, everybody's got libraries and they always have a business department. They'll have business researchers there. Just ask them that question. I want some information on, economic trends. What can we do? Where we get that? And they have a lot of databases. You can go to the federal government, census.gov, or the business statistics. I'm drawing a blank here. But the government has a department that just collects this type of statistics. They make it readily available to anybody. They have a database that you can search for free online, but kind of Google that, it'll come up. Oh, there's Maritza. How are you? I owe you a phone call. I'm sorry, I've been kind of covered up, so I'll get to you today. Sorry about that. Yeah, so Jill, so if you just hit me up there, I'll send you the risk management document. And Sandra, okay, we'll do that. Yeah, I'll send you all the checklists and stuff, but send me your email there. So I'd love to talk to you guys. This is stuff that I am really interested in and spend a lot of time with, especially the financial analysis and things. So be happy to talk to you. Again, we're all free. We do a lot of Zoom calls, so it doesn't matter where you are. We can always get on Zoom and have a nice chat. So yeah, thank you, Janet. There's my email address there. Just send me a note. I'll forward all this stuff to you a little bit later on today. So yeah. Okay, anything else? Anybody else have something to talk about? Any questions? Okay. Well, thanks for spending a Tuesday with me and giving up your lunch, or maybe you had lunch, but glad to see everybody, and we will do it again next week. We're also doing some other things that on this whole idea of year-end planning and stuff. So make sure you come back next week. You'll get some information on that. And let's see. Oh, we got something here in the Q&A. Yeah, Lori, no, we can't download the forms in the chat. And yeah, Dave, I know I've been busy. I need to do one of these on dashboards. I've got some great ones that I use a lot. I'd be happy to share with everybody. Good dashboarding will change your business. In the beginning, you'll hate it. It's like going to the gym with a trainer. You hate going every day, but then once you start seeing the benefits of it personally, you'll start to love it. So we'll do that real soon here, probably right after Christmas, because January is a great time to start and get into that. So, and I hope you're doing well, Dave. Like I said, I was out and saw Top Gun at your place. It was great. So thanks for that. I guess that's it. Hey, Aminata, good to see you. Talked to you last week. Hope things are going well. All right. Well, again, thanks for joining me today. It's always good to see you guys, and we'll see you next Tuesday on Toolkit Tuesday. So happy Tuesday.